What's the worst part of having a child? The weight gain. During the pregnancy, I gained 35 elbs. My belly has stretch marks. My boobs are all saggy. And it's not even fair because my wife only gained like 15. It's incessant. It never stops. You never get a day off. Going from having 2 days per week to relax and do whatever to literally never having a moment free from responsibility. I've always wanted kids and still do, but this is the only thing that has come close to giving me pause. Both my siblings have young kids and I cannot get over how constant it is. From the second the kids wake up to when they finally shut their eyes, it's non-stop. Then they get maybe an hour or two to themselves, which is mostly spent tidying up, etc. before the nighttime stuff starts. Baby crying, toddler coming into bed, nightmares, etc. It requires years of not getting a full night's rest. You can never just go out whenever you want. No sleeping in even on weekends because someone has to be up with them at 6 a.m. Raising human children is an insane task. I wish I listened when people told me this. I get an 8-hair stretch to myself and my spouse, if we're lucky, once every couple of months. There is no such thing as a village anymore. The constant anxiety that you're doing enough to shape them to make good choices, a good life, be a good person, and for them to have the life they deserve. I think most children learn way more from how their parents live their life than from what their parents try to actively teach them. So as long as you love your kids and live a reasonable and healthy life, you're probably doing okay already. The days drag on, but the years fly by. The fingerprints on the wall get higher and higher, and then they disappear altogether. My mom. Best advice I got was from an ancient hospital security guard in an elevator. The days are long, the years are short, cherish them while you can. You have to feed them like every day. You can try let them grass feed on their own if you have a house with lawn around. Coming up with 3 meals a day every day stresses me out so bad. This sounds like such a small thing, but it really wears on you over time. You can't just make something for yourself or something you and your spouse feel like eating. You have to constantly be thinking about if the kid is hungry and what they might be willing to eat. The worry that I'm a bad parent that's doing things wrong. I've observed that parents who have the capability to worry if they are doing things wrong are generally good parents. It's the ones that are 100% certain that their way is correct that I worry about. I too have these worries, but we just do the best we can go with the knowledge we have at the time. I know I'll do things different with my second compared to my first, but we all just have to be willing to learn along the way. Being worried 24/7. Watching them make the same mistakes you did even though you told them not to make those mistakes. Little Jimmy. If you borrow a bunch of money, those people are going to want it back, and if they don't get it back, they'll take stuff you won't want taken. To add to this, they are going to watch you copy some of your habits, and you will start to realize how annoying those habits are. Yay, co-sign on constant worry. Having a kid is like having a little piece of your heart running around in the world. When they're sick or get disappointed or just feel sad, it's worse than having it happen to you. Yet at the same time, you need to let your kids work through those things to learn to handle them. If you give in to the worry and try to shield them from everything, you risk creating harmful codependence. So it's a constant struggle, but worth it. When people ask me this, I say, you know those video games where you have to escort a character to a destination without them being attacked? That's parenting. Those missions are a pain in the ass. And they walk at half your speed, so you have to keep circling back for them. Spot on. They're just always there. On you, behind you, in front of you. Just a little speed bump impeding every task. Look. Mine are 10 and 13, and I will confirm that one of them is always there. My 10-year-old is like my shadow, and she always wants to be where we are. I love her dearly, but good Lord, let me breathe. I'm only 9 years in, but so far it's been the sleep deprivation. Hands down. Whatâ? I'm not still sleep deprived. My kids sleep great now at nearly 9i5, but that was the hardest part of parenthood for me so far. My kids are 14, 18 you. Your kids become champion sleepers in their tweens, bellowing that they must sleep in on Saturday and Sunday. There's more whiplash too. They don't want me to cook for them. They just want another top ramen. They don't want to play. They are busy text messaging W friends. The sudden lack of codependency is bittersweet to be. Yep, 'cause everything else that's hard about being a parent is 50x harder when you aren't getting any restful sleep. I'm 3 weeks in. This doesn't get better. worrying about how the outside world will treat them. I will never forget the first time I saw another child being mean to my daughter and having to keep it together and remind myself that it was a child. Shit's difficult. Yes, this keeps me up at night. Having to deal with their total lack of self-preservation. They are creative and come up with all kinds of ways to try and kill themselves. Keeping ahead of the game is exhausting. My son is 3. He has this globe with name tabs that go into the continents. He was having a nap today, and we told him he had to put the continents away. He tried to swallow one of the name tags, like right in front of us, fired it in his mouth, and began to choke. I'm glad we were both there. That globe has gone away for a while. My 2-year-old has run into the same pole at school twice this year. Even her teachers are questioning her since she's been at this school since first grade and knows there's a pole there. So far, just a bump on the head and busted lip, but it's only a matter of time before it's a concussion or worse. We just shake our head and move on now, because her little ad self does not have spatial awareness. As a child, I was hell-bent on dying. Skateboard, degloving incident, rollerblades, wrecked wrist. Bunk bed, I'll throw myself off it. Wicker basket, that would look good piercing my eyeball. Bike, best throw myself over the handlebars and ruin my thigh. New bike, I've not thrown myself off this one. Time to break my elbow. Plot twist, random seizure. Oh no, now I have cavity difficile. Time to throw myself off that garage roof now. Continues ad infinitum. Eventually, my mother wouldn't take me to hospital anymore in case there was a child protection investigation launched. I was a fucking stupid child. Once in the park, I heard a mom just lose it with her 3-year-old and say, "Hon, you need to learn how to survive. If you keep doing whatever 3-year-old was doing, you're gonna die." It's like taking a second job that lasts 18 years with 24/7 schedule with no holidays or sick days. And no second paycheck. Losing them. My 15-year-old son died suddenly on Tuesday morning. His dad went to wake him for school and he wasn't breathing. He had no health conditions and we don't know the cause of death yet. My baby is just gone. Every single part of parenting is a challenge. But losing a child is a pain unlike anything I've ever known. Having a child is taking a risk that someday your whole world could be shattered and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. Whatâ, thank you so much to everyone who has commented. This has been such a devastating time for me, and it really does help to know that people out there care enough to comfort and grieve with a stranger. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. If they are born with severe disabilities, you will need to take care of them or make plans for their care for as long as they are alive. It's heartbreaking. Many marriages don't make it. My utmost respect to parents of special needs children. My family and I run care homes for adults with disabilities. We empathize with you. Some parents just drop them off at our doorstep with a suitcase and never look back, not even a visit ever. Some of the parents are in their 50s or 70s who never had a break and never wanted them in a care home because of the guilt they would feel leaving them with someone else. But after a certain point, they physically and mentally can't handle it. To those parents, I hope there are options and programs where you live. Just know, there are homes and caregivers who devote their lives to make sure you and your loved ones are in good hands. We are governed by regional centres and the state, so rest assured we feed them well, have really nice housing conditions, integrate them into the community and act as an extension of their family. It's nice to have their families visit once in a while to see their loved ones are in good hands and you can tell they've made peace and are sleeping well with their decision. The other day I saw a guy scolding his young daughter for walking away from him in the parking lot while she kept apologizing to him. At first, I thought he was being a controlling asshole because she only walked a few feet away from him, but then I noticed he was carrying something. Turns out she was blind, and he was trying to find her cane when she started walking away. He wasn't angry, he just had a panic attack because she wasn't by the car. I don't know why, but that brief moment of fear he showed really stuck with me. I don't think I could handle that much stress. Our almost 17-year-old is severely disabled. It is so hard for all of the reasons you would expect. We have grown very close to his neurologist, and in the first year or so, she pulled us aside and said that although there will be times that his needs have to be the priority, in every other moment we need to make our marriage the priority. Situations like ours rip apart a weak marriage, but can cement a strong one. As hard as it has been, I don't think I could have made it through without him by my side. But my sister has Down syndrome, and my mom had to raise us both as a single parent, and I know it was so hard for her, and it still is. It's a lifelong thing, and that's really hard to deal with. My sister still has to live with, and be taken care of by my mom, even as an adult. I tell my mom is beyond burned out, so it's honestly a really awful situation and really bad for my sister. At first they're little and cute, and it's new, so you wanna do your best. But then they get older, and you get more worn out after dealing with it for so long. And it's not as cute or fun giving a bath to your 21-year-old as it is to your 6-year-old. Nobody seems to care about adults with disabilities as much, but someone has to still take care of them. Parent of a disabled medically complex child here. The whole situation kind of shattered my world. I have 2 other kids that I am trying to give a full and happy life to. My wife and I are a great team that accomplishes amazing things. But that's all we are. We don't have any kind of relationship. Meeting other parents in similar situations, I found that we speak a different language than the rest of the world. Medical experiences and home circumstances. I can't relate to more typical parents anymore. It gets better when your kids are more independent. What if they never are? We're so glad to be done with diapers. I don't have that to look forward to. Have someone else watch your kids while you do go away for a vacation. We're operating medical equipment. There's no break. Lose my job, lose my insurance, we're screwed. Even if I just change jobs and my new benefits don't cover what we need. Still, I'm fortunate that I can separate the situation from my daughter. She is the sweetest, happiest, most beautiful child. My parents have sacrificed so much for my disabled brother. I could never do it myself, but I respect them so much for it. My brother is a partial sociopath. He definitely broke up my parents' marriage. He drains the life force of my mom, and he has been generally shunned by society. It's like a long, slow, terrible movie I'm forced to watch on repeat and can do nothing about. I feel awful for my folks. I'm 40 fucking years old at that. Losing them. I lost my 14-year-old daughter to suicide in 2020. It's the worst pain, and you can't imagine it until you are in it. I'll never be the same, and if I didn't have my son, I'm not sure I'd still be here. I felt that my dad committed suicide when I was little, over 25 years ago. I've talked with my grandparents about it numerous times, and still today, they get emotional every time. It took them forever to really accept that there's nothing they could have done, and that they did nothing wrong. I hope you will come to the same conclusion, truly accept it and find peace. Also, fight on for your son and everyone else that loves you. If there's one thing I've learned from my dad's fate, it's that by relieving yourself from your pain, you only make life so much harder for everyone else. Absolutely so sorry for your loss. My daughter attempted suicide, but fortunately, the rope wasn't strong enough to hold her weight. It hasn't been the same since then. The constant worry that the next stressful event will tip her over again. The fear that your parenting skills will not be enough for them to feel safe. The fear that the trauma of a sibling's death won't hinder your other children. Where I am from mental health is deeply lacking. Even my psychiatrist admitted to me that they were limited with their resources. So when you reach the end of where you can get help, it's beyond frustrating. For those that are wondering about the resources, where I am from, when a child accuses another of molestation, they can get therapy, but if they talk about the situation, they are allowed to feel their emotions about it, but then have to be redirected from that conversation because of legality reasons. If they allow them to talk about it, then they are supposed to record their conversation because they don't want to be accused of leading the child. Unfortunately, in my daughter's situation, they kept the investigation open for 2 years before deciding not to go to trial. It was only after they decided not to go to trial that she was finally able to get therapy for it. And having to take care of a sick child when you are also sick, for me, that has been the most challenging part so far. I always manage to catch their bug just as they start getting better, so kiddo is back at 100s and wanting to charge around and play. All the while I'm struggling to even think. Oh God, I had Ashley at the same time as my 3-0 a few months back. I was also heavily pregnant with my second baby. It was so bad it was almost surreal. The loss of freedom. I can't just go somewhere. Even with older kids, there's so much planning and thinking and getting ready. I miss being able to just decide to go somewhere and go there. Yea, the loss of individual freedom is tough. The strain on your marriage relationship. We thought we were completely prepared since our child was planned. Then you add the responsibility and stress, and the takeaway sleep. Didn't sleep through the night for 9 straight months. We were at each other's throats every single day. We finally got ourselves figured out, and are good now. Your life's no longer yours. By time you get home from work, sort tea, sort kitchen, get then in bed, you about an hour before you got to go to bed to start it all over again, edit. When I say tea, I mean dinner supper, not a cup of tea. When my son asks me to play, I don't want to say no, but there's laundry, and dishes, and food prep, and grocery shopping, and getting dressed, and travel time, and work, and I do a class a semester to progress my career. When do you sleep? When do I talk to my wife? When do we go on a date? When do we see family? We haven't done the movie theater or restaurants for years now. My 30s are just gonna fly out the window, and there's nothing I can do about it. Haven't seen anyone mention the strain it can put on your relationship. It's immensely difficult to communicate properly when you're stressed, worried, and sleep deprived. Work on your relationship as much as you do at being a parent, and you'll have a good foundation. For me, I just really like to be alone sometimes. Before kids, I would just go downstairs and watch a TV show, play PlayStation or play guitar, and my wife would do her own thing as well. Now, I have maybe 1 hour of alone time, sometimes none, every couple of days. It's at 11 at night, and I'm tired as fuck then and the next day. It's the hardest part for me. Love them to death, but it's hard to be on all the time with work and them when at home. I'm divorced, and the worst part of having kids is being tied to my ex forever. I'm sorry. I have 2 kids with my ex, and I believe we have the easiest custody ever. When I filed for divorce, I made it known that he and I did not work as a couple, but it absolutely did not include the kids, and they are both of ours. His mom and I still vacation and hang out together. I still call her my Mile. I hate hearing about situations where the kids are used as weapons and everything is a fight to see them. Shouldn't be like that. My ex knows he is welcome here anytime, and I make sure he knows everything that is going on with them. Losing him, my 6-year-old passed away from cancer 3 months ago. Watching him die and not being able to do anything has been hell, real, actual hell. Besides all the other things mentioned, having your internal organs rearranged, some of them permanently. Transitions, from baby to toddler to little kid to big kid, time passes by and with it, they start growing into independent persons. A parent's love grows with them, but the feeling of knowing sooner than later they will belong to the world. And we adults possess the understanding that the world is. This can be both beautiful and scary. For me, it's giving up a part of myself that I will never get back. Don't get me wrong, I would choose to do it every time, but there is a mourn of a previous self and the sacrifice I need to do to become the best father I can be, and that can be hard sometimes. I struggled hard with this until recently. For me, it took almost a total reinvention of who I was and learning to love myself, to find some peace with it. We have 3 kids, the oldest is 7, and they occupy the majority of my time and headspace. Once I radically accepted that life was never going to be what it once was, I could start looking forward at who I wanted to be. Found hobbies that could be interrupted. I went back to college, started working out again. It was rough for a while, but I was either going to get over it or go totally insane. Bingo. I'm a better person than I was before, but sometimes I miss the mischief. Watching them stray down the wrong path, wishing they'd listen to you. Your life is not your own anymore. It's both the best and worst parts of being a parent. Currently, both parents being sick after we caught it from our child, who is all better now and wants to play.
We have no local support for babysitting in these situations.
At the beginning, planning things becomes much more complicated. Want to fly. Got a plan for stroller and car seat. Which car rental place is in the terminal so you don't have to haul all your kids' stuff on a bus. And things can get messed up just because your kid is having a bad day. You might be out at a restaurant and your kid gets mad so you just need to pay your bill and leave, or eat in shifts, so someone can be outside with a mad toddler. Don't get me wrong, I love my kid and wouldn't change anything but details that never mattered to me before become things you have to take into consideration. Doctor, reflections on the cost of rearing children, including worrying about them bearing children, can put a real strain on a woman's body, with permanent and sometimes severe effects, including death of the mother. I had no risk factors or problems, but had to have my uterus removed after the last one was born due to irreparable medical issues, not cancer. It's the cost of doing business and palacin. It's the cost of doing business and palacin to worrying about your children as they grow. I've been fairly lucky in that regard, but I was more than a bit tense when I found out that 2 people had been shot, 1 dead, right in front of my Chicago-based son's apartment. A stray bullet could easily gone into their living room. In fact, when my son got home from work and saw the crime scene tape and the like, he immediately called me to tell me he was okay, on the off chance that I would have read about the shooting on the news. Another son had someone pull a gun on him while he was doing his job, entertainment field. That got my attention as well. Another son got hit by a car while he was riding his bike in a very bike-friendly city. He could well have died, but didn't. He hadn't even made his way home when he called me, very shaken up and needing someone to talk to. My daughter was super sick with severe morning sickness with her 3rd baby. Many trips to the ER and some hospitalizations. I nursed her through it, wishing I could take her place. Things were looking good, but she ended up losing the baby at about 20 weeks. Her losing the baby caused me the most heartache of anything else I've endured with my kids. My own parents had to live through me almost dying in a childhood accident. Seriously, this close to death. Another option than death would have been paralysis. Another, brain damage. I can't imagine what they went through as I lay there in the IQ with machines keeping me alive for a few weeks, followed by a few more weeks on a regular ward. I can only try to imagine their relief when I made a full recovery. Still not as bad as what some peers have endured. Kids getting addicted to drugs. Some ODing, getting into relationships with abusive and violent people. Making poor decisions like dealing drugs. One distant cousin lost his life that way. Dying from cancer or another deadly disease. Dying at the hands of a drunk driver. Making foolish choices and ending up in prison. The kid of a friend ran away from home in high school. Not a bad kid, just 2 crazy teenagers convincing each other that a spontaneous road trip would be fun. With shitty planning, not enough money, and unreliable vehicle. Convincing themselves they would pick up odd jobs along the way. My friend, his father, was sick with worry. The kid ended up straightening out, going to college and getting a regular job. But my friend still looks back at that time in their lives with a shudder.